President Trump is expected to sign a new executive order this afternoon that will effectively begin dismantling the United States Department of Education. Now, for weeks, the White House has been signaling that Trump would be signing that order. Now, for context, closing the department has been a goal of Republicans for decades, but the government agency cannot be fully shut down without congressional approval. Now, in 2024, the Department of Education spent a total of $268 billion. That's roughly 4% of the $6.8 trillion of the federal government's total spending last year. I want to bring in CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes on this. Nancy, really appreciate your time here. So I just mentioned the Department of Education only makes up roughly 4% of the federal budget. So just kind of level set for us quickly. I mean, what exactly does it do and what doesn't it do?
So the three biggest things, Kelly, that the Department of Education does all have to do with very critical funding. First of all, Title I funding that goes to low-income areas to help boost their education budgets. That's about $18 billion a year. Then another tranche of funding that goes all across the country to help schools educate children with disabilities. That's another $15 billion or so per year. And then really the biggest thing that dwarfs everything else is that the Department of Education manages student loans, Pell Grants, FAFSA, loans that 1 out of every 6 adults still pays off in this country. That is all handled by the Department of Education. And the curious thing is that in talking to White House officials, they all say that for the time being, the Department of Education is going to continue to do all of those things, and that today, when the president holds his announcement that he is not going to direct Linda McMahon to prepare to offshore those responsibilities to, let's say, the Treasury Department or HHS. And so on one hand, they're saying that he's looking to radically shrink this department to almost nothing. And on the other hand, they're saying that these very vital functions, the primary functions of the Department of Education, are going to continue. So it is a little confusing right now.
Okay, that's incredible context, Nancy, because I think so many folks are looking at this saying the Department of Education really broke down for us what it does and what it doesn't do, and it's all about funding. I did want to ask you, though, I mean, the full closure of the department can occur without congressional approval. So what are you hearing from the White House about the president's authority to do this?
Well, they recognize that it would take congressional approval to fully shut down the Department of Education. That's probably one reason that this particular executive order has taken so long to draft, because they understand that there's only so much that they can do. But they would like to see it be a shell of its former self. And frankly, already they've reduced the staffing at the Department of Education by about half. There are only about 4,000 people employed by the Department of Ed. Last week, 1,300 people were terminated. Another 600 or so took that fork in the road offer to basically retire early. So they've already managed to downsize it pretty radically by doing things like dramatically slashing research at the Department of Education. The department funds all kinds of research into education to determine best practices, and also the Office of Civil Rights, which is the part of the Department of Education that investigates discrimination claims. That was described to me today by a White House official as akin to DEI, but really this is the office that investigates things like if a disabled student is having trouble actually making it around a school because it isn't accessible, or if students in minority areas aren't getting as many AP classes as students in white areas are, for example. So it's not exactly DEI, but that's how the White House is defining it right now.
That's really important context. Nancy Cordes, thank you so much for your time.